Hello. Homebaked. We are a grassroots organisation in the north of Liverpool, and we propose a scheme of community-led and owned housing and business. And the business happens to be, can you hear me? Good. I can't hear myself. The business happens to be a bakery, therefore bricks and loaves. We also like to do things, if we could, at our own pace, step by step, brick by brick, loaf by loaf. Doesn't ever happen, really, because of the circumstances, so it's constantly emergency by emergency, really. But we still believe that, you know, good things take time and need time. And we are also really concerned about units. So the unit of a loaf, the unit of a person and their personal story, and somebody's home, and that as a very individual unit. Okay. Yes, here we go. My name is Britt, and I am a co-founder member. I'm a member of Homebaked, and I live in Anfield since 5 years now, sort of on this end.
Good afternoon, my name is Sue, and I, like Britt, I'm a co-founder of Homebaked, a board member, a volunteer, sous chef, cleaner of floors, baking cakes, whatever. But I also live in Anfield, and I have lived in Anfield the whole of my life, and that's many years ago. I've lived there for 63 and a half years in Anfield. So Anfield is me, is part of me. This, you can see on the screen, is a picture of Anfield and Everton. Because although we are Homebaked Anfield, the bakery is actually in Everton. We have a main street, and the dividing line is the middle of the street. So one side of the street is Anfield, the other side is Everton, and we're on Everton. But we call ourselves Homebaked Anfield. You can see the little arrow. That's where we are. Anfield is an area that is mostly terraced housing. Some quite small terraced housing, some quite big. And in the past, many years ago, Anfield was considered to be quite an affluent area to live. And we'll tell you the story about Anfield and things that have happened as part of this presentation. I think you can also see, right there, the big square with the white on. Does anybody know? Any fans? I hope I'm not going to insult any Evertonians. This is Anfield Stadium, Liverpool Football Ground. So Homebaked has, within its boundary, a lot of local residents, but also a lot of spiritual residents. And those are the fans of Liverpool's football ground, for which they are many. So it's a mixture.
Okay. This is our base. Some of you know it and know it from a long time ago. This is a bakery. It's often known as the Michels Bakery. It was purpose-built in 1907 and as a bakery, and it has always been a bakery, neighbourhood bakery since. Only in 2 family ownerships, and the last ones were the Michels for, I think, 50 years, Sue?
I think so.
Roundabout.
At least.
A very socially responsible business at the heart of a neighbourhood. Yeah, and that's the building as it stands about half a year ago. And this is a picture in Anfield that we have seen for the last 14 years, 12 to 14 years. So Anfield and Everton, the area around the bakery, was a pathfinder area in the Housing Market Renewal Initiative. Can I see some hands who knows what the Housing Market Renewal Initiative is? Oh, that's surprisingly lots of people, even though it was one of the biggest, I think even the biggest British scheme of urban planning regeneration, as to speak. Not many people actually know about it. It was implemented in 2000 2002 by the new Labour government, and it happened only in the north of, or it happened only in the north of England, particularly in areas of terraced housing. And as the name says it, it was about market renewal. It wasn't about communities, it was about market renewal. There was an idea that seems quite ludicrous, that in areas where houses wouldn't sort of go with the flow of the property bubble and raise in value, that you could actually insert value by demolishing those houses and build new ones. I think that's ludicrous. I might see it very simple, and I probably see it a little bit simple, but I've never found any other explanation for it. So it didn't work. It partly didn't work also because it stalled in 2008 because the property bubble burst and there was no easy money around anymore. But it already had its problems before that, and our area looked a lot like that for a long time. People were bought out, they were moved, ready for demolition, and a long, long time of waiting for something to happen. And in that area was also the bakery, so a lot of local businesses had to close. They ran out of customers, basically. There is a red sort of demarcation around certain areas which allow for compulsory purchase order. Even if it never goes to compulsory purchase order, you can tell people it might, and then they will at some point sell for a price for which they cannot buy a new house.
Okay, so this is my house. This is where I live. I live, I could say actually that I live 2 roads away from the football ground, but because of the expansion of Liverpool's football ground, I will live right opposite Liverpool's football ground because they're about to demolish 3 rows of terraced housing. But as I say, my grandmother bought the house in 1920 and planted the hedge, and it's still there. It doesn't look like that now because I've just been on holiday. It looks like this, it's grown. But you can see either side of me, I have 2 empty properties, one of which has been empty. The one on your right has been empty for 20 years, nobody living there. And it's quite sad because we've had consultation after consultation, promises after promises of what's going to happen, not only with the housing market renewal plans, but other plans as well. Liverpool Football Ground, you may know, they were considering moving into Stanley Park. So there was that hiatus there when we didn't know what was happening. So the residents have been left in limbo, not knowing what is happening or what the future might be. And it's been very sad. You can see areas which once had houses and communities, now no longer, empty spaces. There has been some quite extensive building of houses actually at the back of the bakery within Everton. But Anfield, where I live, they just about started now to bring some of the houses back into use or demolish them.
Okay. So in 2010, the Liverpool Biennial gave a commission to an artist called Jana van Heswijk. And Jana is an artist who works internationally, long-term with communities, is very concerned with what she calls people taking matters into their own hands, so co-designing the future of their neighbourhood, rather than being consulted, actually actively designing, actively co-producing. It started off with a very small thing. It was workshops with young people from the area, a year and a half of workshops looking at design matters, and they started off with the question, what does it mean to live well? And I think they found a lot of really interesting answers to that, and very different answers for very different people. They went through a process of actually designing retrofitting, so proposing the retrofit of a couple of 2 up, 2 downs, lateral conversions, looking at ways of heating, ways of retrofitting, ways of putting houses back into use, and also ways of maybe, for example, growing old in a house. So have a basement flat.
Don't look at me like that.
Oh, sorry. I always wonder about all your steps. As part of that, here are the... as part of that, they were looking for base, and they were looking for a place where they could actually design for. And one day they walked past the Michels Bakery. There was a sign on the door that says, "We are closing down. We're really sorry. Thank you all so much for your support of all these years. We're leaving." They went into retirement, and they were in the demarcation area, so they had hoped or had been told that they would be bought out. But then the whole scheme stalled. That wasn't happening. They couldn't hold the business anymore. They closed down. We used some of the arts funding. To pay for the rent, and we're still renting from the Michels up till probably end of this summer, so over 4 years. And we moved in there with the young people holding their workshops, but then also holding different events, inviting people in to talk about issues. And slowly it was a group that formed that now has become Homebaked. And the young people brought a design process for this building and 2 adjacent ones to the very end, ready for planning permission, ready to go. And we started 2 organizations. One is a community land trust. A community land trust is a model that started in the United States and is very successful over there. It's a way for a neighborhood so it's a membership organization. It's a way for a neighborhood to co-own and co-manage land and buildings. It also has what is called an asset lock, which means you cannot just sell off for profit, and it has a democratic control, so you're deciding as a group about how the profit is used. It's not paid out, in our case, to the members. It actually is spent back into the community. We don't actually make profits yet, so we haven't actually gotten to that point, so don't worry about that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Something that I think is really interesting for the way that this goes step by step, and things change all the time, and they've changed because of the context all the time. There wasn't actually an idea to do a bakery. We were into housing, and then people came in and was like, "When are you going to start to sell bread again?" And the young people were like, "Fine, so we'll design a bakery." And a group of people came together that really care about baking and about bread. And that's how we also started a cooperative bakery. So it's a cooperative business, a bakery business. And this is what it looked like when we moved in. And like that. And this is a design workshop where the kids said, "Well, we want an opening in the shop front so that we can see the bakers in the back baking, because baking is like theatre. You should see it. You should know what's happening." And that's what we did. This is the view into the newly refurbished, just now actually finished, last stage of refurbishment bakery. And that's the shop front. That's the cafe. We're very proud of that.
Okay, so 2 years ago, as part of the Liverpool Biennial, we had an opportunity to tell the story of regeneration and of Anfield, and it was called the Anfield Talk. And I was privileged to have people come into my house so that I could tell my story of my grandmother and what it's been like living in Anfield. So you can see
Sue had 400 people in her living room.
Not all at once, not all at once. But they came in and I told the story and a picture of my grandmother, who was a community nurse. We also had a lot of support through things like Kickstarter, which was a way of us getting some funding so we could buy our oven. And you can see we had 494 backers. I've just met one of the backers this today. And we raised almost £19,000, which was a lot more than we we anticipated, and we were very grateful for that. But we also had a great deal of support from the media, including going on the One Show. And here you can see our baker, Jess, our very, charismatic person who is in the audience now. But Jess, where are you?
Hello.
She'll hate us now. She'll hate us now. But yeah, we had a lot of, so we were on the One Show, and that was brilliant. And as I say, we've had a lot of support from the media through newspapers and on television. But we also, one of the things that we were very keen to do was to build ourselves into the community, because the community has been decimated. And this is us in the early days, really, of running some workshops, learning how to bake together. Very much a community baking together. Great fun.
Oh my God, that looks different than it did on the
original
slough.
Will it build if you do it?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so. No.
Well, the other things that were really difficult, it was nice to bake, but the other things were difficult, and that was getting funding, that was understanding about being a board member and what that meant, and all the intricacies around that, finances, learning new skills. It was hard, it was tough.
A lot of meetings.
A lot of meetings, and we did have, you'll have to just take my word for this, we did have a very nice plan of how the board is set up, but it wasn't easy.
And then last summer, we were ready to open the bakery. We had funding for the refurbishment, we had funding for the flats upstairs, and we had a team of people that were ready for us to start with. And then everything changed because this area was still under demarcation. Oh yeah, we also had an investor to help us buy the bakery of the Michels. But there was still a demarcation on that, so still a possible demolishing of that actual row. And exactly that happened. The city council, who, very unfairly inherited a mess with Anfield, went forward, made the decisions for a new master plan for Anfield, and as part of that they were going to demolish also our stretch. And that was really hard for us, and we got together as a group and we decided, no, we are going to manifest, we're going to take the risk, we're going to open anyway. We're going to do a really small amount of refurbishment. We did a lot of it by hand because we didn't want to take too much risk, and we opened as the bakery with a fantastic team on match day, on other normal days. And we negotiated with the council. We didn't give brown paper envelopes. We actually gave little brown paper bags with pies. And this is, I think, just for you to know what food can do and how charming food can be for people. And this is our future. We really want to build housing, affordable housing, shops on the bottom. We really want to become a model for regeneration where the value, monetary value and social value stays within the neighbourhood and where we are part of that regeneration. And as part of that, offer classes and so on and so on. I just want to finish on a quote by one of our co-founders, Fred Brown, who has been a fantastic inspiration to all of us many times over and over again. He says, "The opportunity to be involved in something that will become a local icon of locally powered generation has been too good to pass up. To be able to shape at least some part of my life where I live of my own volition, love that word, love the process, is a powerful thing. To know that others feel the same, wonderful. We will rise, but not get crusty in the process."